Hello, ladies and gents, and everyone else watching or listening. Welcome to the Capture Mike Podcast, Episode 2, brought to you by Europa Halo. The podcast bringing you more gossip than the EU sauna, where we bring some of European Halo's finest faces onto the mic for your listening pleasure. I'm your host, Joe Sketch, joined today by a legend, a veteran of the scene, Mr. Baxter himself. How you doing, man? Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, good, man. Thank you for having me.
So we've got to touch on a lot of stuff here, right? Your history in the Halo scene goes all the way back. This sort of podcast is basically we have these individual interviews, one-on-one with some of the like competing Halo players or former competitive Halo players, and it's sort of painting that picture of European Halo, what it was like in the upstarts, all sort of little stories, any sort of like snippets of details from LAN, or any sort of thing which you find fascinating, and just sort of over these sort of episodes. And obviously with yourself here, Baxter, you've got a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. Just trying to build that image, maybe for some new viewers or some people who've like even joined in like 2018, even 2011, but after you'd start competing, and you know, just to sort of showcase what European Halo has been all about. So for all that long, and I guess the best place to start as well, man, like, because as I said, we've got a lot to go through. How did you get into competing?
Right, so we're going to start with, obviously it's going to be Halo 2. This goes back a long way back now. This is showing our age, mate. But my household was never like technology based. We never had the internet. We didn't really have consoles. We had like a PlayStation 2, and me and my older brother played that a little bit. But one day my friend brought it was a Friday night, and he brought the Xbox around. It was one of those, the first ever, like the black Xbox, man, the big chunky controller. Yeah. And I remember just we all sit there. My mum was out on the pub on a Friday night, and we all just sat there, man. They must have played for so long the 4-way split screen on Halo. And after a while, I just got so obsessed with it. And then what we realized is my next door neighbor played as well. So we used to set the Xbox up in my room, and he'd set his Xbox up in his room, and we used to run an Ethernet cable through the window. We used to play like 4v4 LANs, 4 of us in one house, 4 of us in the other. It was someone turned up one day and was like, "Oh, there's a Halo thing going on down the road actually," and it's where people used to run the infamous XL Halo events. Now these used to be done in like the NEC, which was a tile suite. It was a really small suite in the NEC. Couldn't fit that many people in there, but I remember turning up to that one. Played the FFA. This is before any of us had Xbox Live. Played the FFA and got speaking to someone there. He was like, "Yeah, this is all run basically through Xbox Live." So I got home and was like, "Mom, you've got to get me the internet, man. I need to play. Because I started getting better than everyone else I was playing with, and people was like, "Oh, I'm not going to bother playing anymore." So it ended up just being me and like a couple of others that carried on. Yeah. So second I got Xbox Live, I started to just meet far more people. Managed to put together a little team for XL2 and just got the bug. So that's where it like started for me. That was my introduction to esports as a whole. The second I went to those events and was like seeing people getting the snipes on main stage, and even though at this point the events were very intimate, there was like 100 people tops at these events. They were very, very intimate. They were very small. The main stage wasn't what you see now. There was no flashy lights. There was just four screens, four Xboxes either side, and people would just go at it. It wasn't what it was now, but the atmosphere was just as good. You could argue that the atmosphere was better because of how intimate it was.
Yeah. Was it like you fold up chairs, like big CRT screens? That's how I imagine it.
Oh yeah, there was none of this monitor. Like, it wasn't all neat and tucked away like it is now. It was fucking cables everywhere, people tripping over carpet, like little. It's hard to explain, like little school chairs. It was good though, man. Everyone used to stink. So it didn't seem to have, like, everyone that was there didn't seem to have any money. It's kind of like everyone was poor, but was just going because it was so much fun. There was no money in gaming, and do you know what I mean? I think people were probably taking home 500, 600 quid for first place. So people were doing it purely out of passion.
Had you heard about like bigger scenes, or was it just all sort of at XL2? That's what everybody went to. Was there other stuff going on in the UK, or did you hear about the American stuff?
So there wasn't like, no, it was kind of weird. Like XL, I don't know. There was obviously events before, like on Halo 1 and stuff like that before XL, but I wasn't I didn't really know much about them. So the most I realized was going on outside of the UK was obviously MLG. And it was rumored that people would go at this time. It was unheard of that people would fly over. I think one team did it before, didn't do very well, and I don't think anyone ever bothered trying to do it again. So going across the pond and playing on the biggest scene was just a topic that they didn't really invest in at the time.
Yeah, I guess it's like a lot of money as well, like to go over
Of
there. And even if
course,
you
yeah.
place, I'm pretty sure, like even across in America, even if you place like top 8, you're still not really getting much
No, you
leeway.
probably
And
wouldn't even if you were getting top 8, you probably just about be scraping your flight money back. It's a big
exactly.
ask, especially when I said, as I said to you, it's like everyone's doing that based on pure passion. It takes a lot to get people go flying across the world based on pure passion to like pay it out of your own pocket and go. So I understand that might not have been viable, so to speak.
I guess as well, like a lot of you all probably like still in school or like 16,
Yeah,
17,
I definitely was.
even
Yeah,
younger than that. Yeah.
I think I was probably like 15,
Mm.
15, 16.
So you started. So that's to be fair, that's a quality story. I still don't even know how like the Ethernet like reaches from your window to your mate's window.
It
Like
was a
even if it's like
fucking big
raining or something. Like
Ethernet. It
yeah, but
was a big old Ethernet. It was
if
so
it
good
starts
though.
pouring down, right? Are you like shit? I got to disconnect my end. He's gonna wheel it in
Nah,
this side, or was it just like
just
oh
shut the
yeah,
window. The window used to close on the fucking. I remember we used to every now and then, like the amount of times we'd open and shout at each other, like the Ethernet would start to tear. So we'd have to like move the Ethernet a little bit left, a little bit right to make sure that the tear wasn't constantly in the same place. Yeah,
if
rough
people were
times,
walking
man.
past, I can imagine them just hearing the window opening or like listening, going, "What the fuck are you thinking? Why? Oh, it's one shot.
Yeah,
He's
literally,
teabagging
because
me!" Like,
my room was back used to back onto his, man. So in the morning it'd be like get a fucking coat hanger and tap the windows, and like you jumping on Halo, like yeah, go on.
yeah, yeah.
Really good times actually
So that's
when you
Halo
think about it.
2. Yeah, that's Halo 2. So there's XL2. Was there any other like tournaments in Halo 2?
I think XL2 it's a long time ago now. I think XL2 was Halo 3. So Halo 3 had just come out at this point. When all of this is happening, Halo 3 had just come out. I think when I first got Xbox Live, it was Halo 2. And then it's somewhere in between Halo 3 came out. I can't remember whether it was XL2 or XL3 that was Halo 3. But yeah, that was the birth of like my true competitive spirit. So let's call it that.
So, I mean, my knowledge, I mean, back then is only through like the internet, so I won't have barely any of the stories. But what was sort of the first competitive team you had? Like, did the money like raise up as well during the time? Was it still the same, but there's more competition, sort of thing?
Even like if I couldn't tell you the numbers of the prize fund at this point because it wasn't relevant. I never thought to myself for
Yeah.
1 minute I was going to be placing it in the money. But when I was at one of these events, I think it was XL2 or XL3, I met up with some guys and I got talking to them. And there's some lovely lads. They were all from the same city, and we had a team called All or Nothing. Now, this name, to anyone that knows Halo 3 and knows like the history of Halo 3, this team becomes quite big and it's quite an important step. We were all like 15, 16-year-old kids, but we were like one of the first teams in Europe to be like, okay, we're going to play outrageously aggressive. We're going to be really confident in what we're doing. And we were just a really arrogant bunch of kids. And every time we used to win a game, it used to piss everyone off.
Mm.
And this team was like the first. That was when I realized, okay, we're actually in amongst it here. So one team, a Norwegian team that I think they got top 3 at the event before, we played them, and I remember I had my back to the wall. This is a very small venue, and we're playing with All or Nothing, and this is like the second seed versus like second from bottom or something like that. And we're just playing, and as the game goes on, we're like, "Fuck, we're gonna win." We're going to win, we're going to win. And we upset these guys. I think we beat them 3-0. But I remember just seeing all the crowd, and I remember seeing some of these big faces I've been watching, and heard about before, watching it. And I remember just standing up and talking so much shit to these Norwegians and just watching everyone like they were in tears, basically howling at the fact that the Norwegians were losing and the fact they were losing to any people. This was the team All or Nothing. So on this team was me, Cons, a guy called Millwall Boy, a guy called The Enemy, and soon to be MVP. But I left that team, and they went on to pick up Reaction and MVP. And if you know your Halo history, that team ended up doing really, really well. But that was like the birth of this new range of players, just a bunch of 16-year-old kids with a shitload of confidence.
Was there like I don't, probably not forum chats, but like some sort of chats online, like talking about this stuff, or was it all like you don't hear for ages, maybe through Xbox Live, and then you go to the event, and that's where everything sort of kicks off?
Nah, so this is what I think the community nowadays is missing, and I stand by it. Is there used to be the Halo Free forum, like it was where you go to school and you'd be on your break, you'd be like, I'm gonna go on the forum and talk some shit. And they used to do so many different columns and so many interesting things before events. There'd be prediction threads where everyone would everyone would have their say about how they think teams are gonna do. There'd be pre-event interviews. There would be so much. I think it's what's missing now to create that community, because everyone used to talk, and there'd be a lot of back and forth. You get a lot of players that were active on there because it was fun. That's where all the rivalries started, and I think without the rivalries, you've got nothing, have you?
Yeah, exactly. And like
But the forum was huge, man, because that's where you'd have an interview, and you'd obviously use that as your chance to talk shit about a team that you definitely going to be playing, and that'd either come back to bite you or that'd get in their head. And this interview would be plastered all over the place. Everyone that was going to the event would see it. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't like a Twitter where there might be a little bit of back and forth and only your followers see it. This is full blown. Everyone reads it. Everyone sees it. You're signing yourself up to a bit of beef.
I remember the Halo 3 forum. Actually, I remember.
What a place! What a place!
Way back in the day. But it's just because, like, even if for me, for instance, like I wasn't like going to land, but I still could like see, what was going on. I mean, I can't remember most of it. You sort of get these names in your head, and you go, "Oh shit! Did those guys play against those guys at LAN?" Or did that beef sort of like come to like the heads at the tournament as well? And I get what you're saying, like, because a centralized place where everybody can go to, because not everybody has like, if you're a passive EU Halo fan, you might not have Twitter, or if you do, you're not following like everybody in the scene. I'm sure they're all following you though, Baxter, but like maybe other people they're not following. So who was like your main rivals back in the day? Like, was there like some proper like clashes at LAN?
Yeah, so we'll just skip to sort of when, because before I won my first event, I don't think I didn't place top 16, so I'd had like the little odd rivalry here and there, but yeah, it's literally until I won my first event, I'd never placed top 16, just because I had a real bad attitude, to be honest. No one wanted to go near me, because this is at the point where sponsors were getting quite big, and I guess people used to just think that it wasn't very good for the sponsor. But I think the biggest rivalry that ended up happening was so me and Reaction were teaming with Zitnex and MVP, and we got dropped by what was it? Zitnex and MVP. Yeah, we got dropped by by MVP and Cons, sorry, and had to team with the Bucks, and we ended up getting the power sponsor, taking the trip to MLG Anaheim. We actually ended up beating them that event where they both dropped. So it was like a 2v2 straight swap. But the other team, they were playing for SK at the time, it both dropped the Bucks and both dropped us, and we ended up beating them by quite a convincing amount. That was like my biggest rivalry at the time. But there was only say like six sort of top European players at this point. So for us to jig the teams around, someone was always worse off. But the rivalry was sort of whoever was the second best team at the time.
Yeah. So like, was that your first time you'd gone to America with the Bucks and Reaction?
It was. Yeah, it was. Yeah. MLG Anaheim. I think it was 2009.
Right. Like the one European Halo team I knew back in Halo 3, even like going forward from like the Halo history, the early EU history, was Power Gaming. Like that sponsor was massive. And I'm probably feeding your ego right now, but like it's true. Like that's one of the names.
I understand it. I understand it. It's because we were quite. I think we were the first. Let's say the first team to sit there and think, okay, we're starting to emulate what the American teams are doing. Like we could see they were getting sponsorships. We could see the path that esports was taking, especially European esports within Halo. We could see the path it was taking. I think we were the first time we was okay. We need to approach this properly and start to put our name out of there. Start to be a little bit more flamboyant with the way we do things. Let's make ourselves public, and I guess it worked in that sense. Like the iconic green and white jersey that was it never changed through the events. That org, that team, like that image never changed, and I guess it kind of worked out in the end.
Power button right there. Like
yeah,
on the
exactly.
jersey, wow, like central point.
It's so bad when you look at it, but the jerseys were so uncomfortable as well.
Like whose jersey was good back in the day? Like I mean, a Final Box maybe, but like
Fnatic is an unreal jersey. Yeah, Fnatic is the best jersey by far, and still is, I think.
Yeah. So like so you were the Bucks at this point. You've gone across to North America, and did you play against any of the top teams when you were over there? Did they sort of chat to you?
Yeah. So when we were the top undisputed top European team at this point, and this is crazy, but the way the MLG rules used to be with seeding is that if you were an international team, you were lumped as the very last seed. So when we went, I think there was over 200 teams, and we were given bottom of the pile seed. So the first round, because of the amount of teams there was, and the first round had so many teams in the open bracket, you had to play on split screen, which was just fucking crazy. We're European players. We used to having Astros on the desk. None of that was, and we ended up losing. So we played the team called Uprising, which, if you look now, has got some players that are still relevant in the scene now on that roster. Those games are on YouTube, by the way.
Shout out. Think it.
Yeah. So we lost the first series on split screen. It's one for it, but we're going to lose a bracket round one. There's a lot of teams at this point, but we ended up, when we played them again later on in the tournament as we're trying to qualify for champ bracket, and we gave them the fastest 4-0 they've ever had in their life. And this was the 13th seed at the time. They just got like top 12 the event before, which is, when you look at the numbers now, that's huge. If I see a team unseeded come and they beat the 13th seed, if that happens now, that's wild. It's unheard of, especially when it's two 16-year-olds and two 17-year-olds that are doing it, and you're beating professional players that do. It's crazy when you look at it like that.
I mean, technically, you're like 208 seed, right? Or you're like
something like that. We were a 200 plus seed. Yeah, we were bottom of the pile. If it's numerically probably one of the biggest upsets in Halo history, it's got to be.
Who was on Uprising? You said there's some players still around today.
So let me find out. Let me see. Alumni was one of them.
Okay. Still coaching.
Yeah. Uprising. We can probably cut this out.
It's all staying in now. It's all staying in. Like me, like what I remember back in like Halo 2 days. And I don't think I watched it on MLG TV. I can't remember. I think I watched it online somewhere. They had the MLG 2006 and 2007 like episodic, like big TV shows. And I know they were showing America fully on TV. And for those of you like listening at home who like haven't heard of these before, but you could probably find them on YouTube. They're basically
you can find them on YouTube, actually. Yeah,
you can't.
No, you can. You can.
You can.
They're definitely well worth a watch as well for anyone that's curious. If you jump on YouTube, you can find these. There's actually a channel dedicated to them.
Yeah. Zero Silence 91 is like the name which comes to my mind. Something like that. And they're all on there. But if you search them, there's multiple people who've uploaded them. Anyway, these sort of episodic showcases they normally follow the top teams, but it sort of gives you like a picture of what these venues were like and events were like. And when you're saying 200 plus teams, imagine that's like 800 plus people going to go play Halo in this big center, this warehouse. like wherever you go, you're looking at Halo players, and it's all sort of new. So all of these pro players are sort of seen as almost like they're the first of their kind. And these episodes sort of cover a lot more detail and go into like specific games, and I think there's even like commentary over the top of it, and you can see the main stage, and it's as we said before, all like CRT screens. Only the best teams have headsets, like yourself.
Yeah, no, but this is the thing about this. We used to like the iconic headset at the time was the Sennheiser, and it never had a microphone on it. So it's just four guys sitting in front of a screen, no headset, standard issue controller shouting the call outs. Like you could never hear these call outs. There was no way. Communication was just not available. There was no way you could hear the call outs.
Yeah.
Everything was just way too loud. You used to come back from an event and you had no voice. It was a fact because you'd just been screaming call outs for like the last 3 days.
Surely though, you could trash talk across the stage and like a lot clearer, like especially if they didn't have a headset. They're hearing that.
That was part of it. Is because there was no headset, because you couldn't have noise cancelling headphones at the time. That was like a big part of it. Talking trash over the screens was huge. You hear every single word that the other person's got to say.
Yeah,
it's not something you're going to get away from.
Imagine as well, like in these sort of big pits, there's just so many people walking around, so many people watching, especially like for a European team. We'll go back to that big upset you had against 13th seed. Was there loads of people like watching? Surely at that point they see these like basically unknown faces from across the pond coming and basically beating one of their own homegrown talents. Was there a lot of hate, or was it like a lot of like people against you, or was it sort of half and half, or people supporting you? What was it like when you went over there?
It came in waves. So as we was going through the open bracket, there was an initial bit of interest in us because they were like, we'd matched a lot of these people in the MLG playlist, and there's a lot of people saying, oh, they're not going to be able to do anything. They're going to get shit on when they get here. It's going to be awful. They're going to be crap on land, blah, 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 blah. So the initial interest was pure curiosity. How are these guys going to do? So after we lost like the first series, like in that fashion, I think everyone just went, yep, flip the coin on us and basically considered us out. We went on 30 series or something crazy like that. 30.
Jesus.
Something stupid to go through the loser bracket. Because when there's that many teams, you go all the way through, and then we had to qualify for a champ bracket. So as we got to like the later series, the crowd side become divided. At one point, everyone wanted to see us. There was people that wanted to see us do well, and then I'll never ever forget. They put us on the feature station. Now we'd already made it through champ bracket, and we'd beaten quite a few well-known teams at this point. And we're playing on like the feature station, which is equivalent to some of the main stages that we're playing now. Yeah. And we were playing against a team that was probably one of the fan favorite American teams. And even though we had the headset on, I'll never forget, it was like a Game 5 Narrows TS. And we're trying to communicate, and all you can hear is, USA, USA. And it's that loud. It's coming through our heads, like our Astro mics are picking that up. And I remember looking across, and the Buck twins, they never had much confidence really anyway, but I remember looking across, and they're like, I don't even know how they were holding the controller. The controller was shaking. We ended up losing that game for top 16, 50-49. Game 5. It's one of the most devastating moments in my Halo career, because we've just put that much effort into the whole thing. We played every single fucking game. We played for so long. And we was one game off going to bed and playing again fresh the next day. Was one kill off, going, resetting, and going again the next day fully fresh. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So that's still to this day one of the most heartbreaking losses I've ever had. It's up there.
Imagine as well, like if you go through the winners bracket, especially in that big of a tournament, there's barely any games to play compared to going through the losers bracket.
Yeah, it's
almost
correct,
like half. So like that team could have played 15, 16 times, and you're playing there 30 plus times. I mean, surely it's like 3 a.m. in the morning. I don't know what time.
It was late. It was real late. Yeah. And for some reason, when I look back, it was crazy. But we arrived on Thursday night and was playing Friday. Don't ask, but it's almost like we're just kids at the time. We haven't got a fucking clue. But I'm guessing management was trying to save money on hotels and everything. They weren't really getting any return from us. But we arrived on Thursday night and were straight into playing on Friday. We were so jet lagged. It was hard. It's not making an excuse. but when the teams that went after that and succeeded were, we made the mistakes for them as well. We learned, we ended up better prepared for the next events based on that experience. So we kind of paved the way for the international scene as well and the European Halo front.
So when you come back to EU after that first American LAN, was there just like on the Halo 3 forums, was it blowing up? Or were like people like slating you for not doing as well? Like what was the feeling like?
I think everyone had like a big question mark over how we were going to do, and at this point, I actually think we ended up going to this event before we'd been to Europe. Actually, I've got that wrong. So this MLG event, we'd never played as a team on LAN before.
Oh, right.
We'd just been dropped, and I think the other team were promised to go to MLG Anaheim, right? And they didn't get that, and we were the ones that ended up going. So there was one European event after, and everyone was going, "Oh, we'd love to see how this other team did." Blah 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 blah. But we come back straight off the back of that trip to Anaheim and shit all over our rivals anyway. But there was a lot of you can imagine what it's like. There's a lot of mixed feelings about how we did. There was a lot of people that wanted to see us do well. There's the people that wanted to see us do badly and would not appreciate how we did. It was always going to be mixed emotions.
I guess with nothing to compare to as well. Like we look back now and say, like top 16, that placement was incredible for a European team with no prior experience against NA teams. But at the time, like it was an unknown. Like no other European team went over there, right? So it's just you guys. Yeah. So you came back, and if I'm right in saying I think you won. At least I know you won the Insomnia that year. Was there multiple European events before the next MLG event you went to?
Yes, I think there's like 2 or 3, because we used to have a lot of people don't. It's not like available on the internet stuff like that. Invite only like lands that we go to, like expeditions and stuff. So I think we played against SK, who it was at the time. I think we played against them about 2 or 3 times before we went back to MLG Orlando, and we won every single time at this point as well.
So you almost built like the first EU dynasty, essentially, or was there CE dynasty before?
What was that? Sorry.
Sorry, I leant away from my mic. To be fair, did you build the first EU dynasty? Would you say? Did you be that bold?
I think it carried on for a while after that. I think I still to this day swear that the best European team, the best team of 4 for that generation, never teamed. And it's because you couldn't prize Buck 57 away from Buck 20. It was like they wouldn't leave each other's hit. Buck 20 was substantially better than Buck 57, and everywhere he went, Buck 57 went. And if we could have swapped out Buck 57 for MVP, you've got, and I still to this day think it would be the best European team to ever grace Halo.
How well do you reckon you would have done with that? Like
it's top 6. It's top 6.
NA. Top 6 NA.
Yeah. Because after all of this, we had European players. I think people seem to forget this. We was placing top 12 after that anyway. Towards the back end of Halo 3 and just onto Halo Reach, we was placing top 12, and top 16 was a regular thing. And we used to have to do it constantly through open bracket, which changes the dynamic completely.
Yeah. So still through
I think if we have those 4 players, myself, Reaction, MVP, and Buck 20, that was like the EU. That's the EU God Squad at the time of that generation, and I think we would have broke a lot more records.
Yeah, we'll never know.
Yeah, we'll never know. We do inside there. We all secretly know inside.
That's it. Whatever's said on this podcast is gospel, though. So, it's fact. We now know.
Fact. I don't say it unless it's fact. That's
exactly
how it is.
So you did a little bit of foreshadowing earlier, right? Yeah. You played on Power Gaming for quite a long time during Halo 3, and you also moved across to another big org in Fnatic at some point over there. What was it?
Man.
during that time, like in between that first LAN with Power Gaming, sort of then going across to Orlando and winning a lot in Halo 3 back in EU to going towards Fnatic?
I can't really remember what it was. As I say, I did not have a good attitude, and I think a lot of, especially with the Power Gaming, and when I went over and left for Fnatic, I fell out with Power Gaming management over stupid things. I think they fined me prize money for something I'd said or something I was doing in public. They fined me prize money, and I was like, "Fuck you! I'm not fucking playing for you again." So I ended up going and joining. Fnatic was just sort of stepping into European Halo at this point, and I ended up going and playing with a big name that you'll see now. It was Riots. So it was me, Riots, and a couple of the other guys. But yeah, so that was, and Fnatic at this point were the only other team that were offering to take teams across the pond. So we just sort of jumped on that and started playing for them. We didn't really know that they were going to grow to be such a huge, organization as they are now. I think they were big, but I didn't realize they were going to be this big. I also fell out with them as well.
How'd you fall out of them as well?
I don't know. Don't get me started. I got fined more prize money than I won in my time, put it that way.
Yeah. Is this all the attitude thing you'd say?
It was, yeah. I'd say it was the attitude, yeah.
Yeah. But surely you'd change now. Like, if that was the same situation, would you still?
I think I changed. I changed to the back end of my career anyway. There was a lot less of that. There was a lot of less of that towards the back end of my Halo career anyway.
Was it always shit talking towards other people in the organization or your team, or was it always like against people when people just picked up on it, or just all of it?
It's a little bit of everything. Yeah, a little bit. A lot of it was like stupid things they put in my contract, like I think one of the reason I fell out with Power Gaming was there was a load of stuff going on, politics going on outside of the game, and they put a clause in my contract at the time, which was like, I can't publicly slay anything they do or something like that. And they literally whipped me all of my prize money off for one of my European wins. So I flat out refused to play for them. I was like, it's nothing to do with you. If I want to talk about how you're behaving outside of the game, I can. They were at the time a professional organization. They weren't a professional organization. There was just a guy with a load of money sending some kids to America, but thought they could get away whenever they wanted.
Yeah, I guess looking back, you always think of like Fnatic as this massive org throughout the whole time they've been around. But I guess they had to start somewhere, and during when they're picking you up in Halo, they're probably still like new to CS:GO and other games they're in as well.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been their infancy.
Yeah.
When you think about it, that must have been, as I say, they can't have been as big as they are now. I don't think the management that were there when I was there was probably completely different now. I doubt any of them even exist.
Yeah. What was your best placement in NA, would you say? Like with either Power Gaming or Fnatic or during that Halo 3 Halo Reach time?
It's got to be the Anaheim, the 17th place.
Yeah, so
top 12 was the best placement, but that was the most rewarding, was the 17th, because I think that was the best experience of the lot, 100%. And I think we beat much better teams for that than we did for any of the other events.
Yeah. Especially going down. I guess also like going into literally
losing round one. Yeah. Wild.
That's ridiculous. So we talked a bit about at the start about your Halo 2 sort of LAN, that first XL1, XL2. From like Halo 2 to now moving on to like Reach, where I think you're still on Fnatic at the start of Reach as well. I mean, you move on to
no, at the start of Reach, me and Reaction, bit of a weird one. We got approached by an organisation that claimed to be something that they weren't. Said they were going to pay us all of this money, blah blah blah. Can we put a team together? And we picked up Adamski and Vard. Now I don't know if you know those names. If you're in your Halo history. Yeah, so Adamski I think he was a Call of Duty player. He was a Call of Duty player, and he'd come over. He'd been playing a bit of Halo, and with Reach coming out, me and Reaction were like, okay, we're going to form a God squad. So we left the Bucks and picked up these two guys, and that was the first. We played for a team called Four Kings. I don't know if they still exist, but that was yeah, when we moved over to Reach, that was our that's what happened there.
What was
We
the
did win the
land
first event though.
situation? Yeah. Yeah. Of course you won the first event. Power team comes through. Yeah. What was the land situation in the EU at that point compared to like you gone from that little sort of small area in the NEC with like your school chairs, you said. Was it still relatively the same, or was it had like grown like exponentially in that time?
I think the introduction of like iSeries. So this was when we started to realize it was growing. It was becoming something a little bit more in Europe as well as NA. So iSeries is obviously huge, and it still is now. And although the layout of the tournament was different, we had to it was bring your own console. It was BioArc. To bring your own Xbox, you set up as a 4, and you wouldn't ever be opposite the team you were playing against. You would just connect to that lobby and play that lobby until
Yeah.
you got to the finals or the semi-finals or whatever, and they started to give us main stage space. Now, as the game grew and as the community got bigger, and I think as the demand for Halo got bigger, we started to get more space on the main stage, and more games were showing up, and the streams were getting better, and the streams were getting bigger. So that was the state of the LAN scene at the time. So there was
Yeah.
a few. It was actually the start of Reach. I think we were getting 3 or 4 different tournaments. 3 or 4 different organisations running tournaments. We was having Reflex in Amsterdam. We had XL, which went all the way up to like XL6, XL7. We became EGL actually at the time, which is I think it's still EGL now.
Yeah, EGL still rocking it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the same company. XL turned into EGL, and then we'd
Right.
have like iSeries, and then we had I can't remember what it was, but there's like lands in Paris. So at this point, at the end of Halo 3 and the start of Reach, we was looking at four different events running across the year.
Yeah, all in different locations. Well, I guess 2 in the UK and then two
Yeah, yeah.
international. Yeah, 2 in mainland Europe as well. Yeah, iSeries, Insomnia, right? Would that be? Is that the biggest one of the 4? Would you say?
I think it's the biggest event in its own right, but as far as if you're a Halo player, the event you want to win is the XL/EGL. That was solely Halo, and I think it picked up Call of Duty towards its later years. But hey, that was a Halo event. That was that everyone there turned up to play Halo, so that was the event to win, definitely.
How many did you win?
3 or 4.
3 or 4. Was there
Yeah,
like?
3 or 4.
Were you during that time like the top EU team? No one's contesting you, or did you have like teams which would come close? Sometimes beat you at different events.
When it was because of with the way the teams would always jig around, as I said to you earlier, there was like 6
Yeah.
sort of top players. If you ended up for whatever reason on the wrong side of the good 4, you didn't really have any chance of beating the other team. It could have been, those 6 players could have all swapped round in the forward, put themselves in the 4-man team, and they would all walk away with a win. It wasn't until the back end of Reach where we started to see another few players that could come in and start to compete for first.
Who were those players who were like the breakout players? So I guess there's the Halo 3, like let's say vets at this
Yeah.
point, or the
So
people that have been at the top of the top, and then going on to Halo Reach. These
you'd
new
start to
guys.
see some of these like some of the young kids. Trojan was one. He doesn't play anymore. I don't think he carried on playing after Reach. Trojan was one. You get like Fusion. I don't know if you know him. The
Yeah,
Skies guy.
Scotland. Yeah,
So there's some of these like fringe players that started to come through that would eventually make, and even Blackjack at the end of Reach. Some of these sort of fringe players that would turn out to be. I think most of them went on to win events.
yeah. So, pick like where were you during this whole time? I know you said you won a few like EGL events. Was it always a constant team, or was it still that chop and change? The
It's
top
chop
6
and
still being the
change.
top 6.
Once I'd left Power and walked out of Power, there was a lot of change, and I don't think I had one consistent time after that.
Is that the same for everybody as well? Did it always seem to swap, or did like Power stay consistent, or another one of the top teams sort of always be there?
Yeah, I don't think if we go back and look back at the consistent chain of winners, I think majority of the time the team that's at first place has changed. for whatever reason, but something has happened. So when we won with PAL, we won like two or three events, and then Reach came along, so we chopped and changed, and then we won a couple more events with a different team. And then I think I went about 3 or 4 events without winning an event, only to then come back and win another one towards the end of Reach. I think I won the last Reach event, but the teams that were coming first and the teams around the second and third were always chopping and changing.
Did they get to a point during the Reach time where, when it got dropped from MLG and like there wasn't much support on the NA side, was EU still going strong, or did it also sort of like fluctuate and start to go down as well?
From what I can remember, I think EU stayed pretty strong. Someone reminded me about this recently. We weren't actually playing NA settings towards the end of Reach, and this is maybe why I think there's like this blank space when I think about Reach, especially towards the end of it. I can't really remember much about the end of Reach, and I think that's why I think it did start to die off. That must have been it. It must have just started to die, especially with the lack of support from the NA side. But we was like playing with our own settings and stuff, which is wild, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, so I guess you still got that disparity between the NA and the EU, and especially during the end of Halo Reach, there wasn't many EU teams going across, right, to America.
No, I don't think I went. I don't think I went on Reach. I don't think I went to America when I was playing Reach at all.
So
I don't think so.
After Halo Reach ended, did you sort of like hang up your controller for a bit, or have you like kept playing for a bit afterwards, and then what sort of like from then till did you even play in Halo 5, let's say, that sort of range?
Literally the second, I can't even remember what the map was called. I think someone told me the other day. I think it was Haven. But I turned Halo 4. Yeah, I think that was the name of the map. I turned Halo 4 on, played 2 or 3 games. I remember using one of the lifts on Haven, someone sniping me, and I actually turned my Xbox off, put it in the cupboard, and was like, I'm not fucking putting myself through that shit. The Xbox didn't come out of the cupboard. That was me done. There was no not like you see people these days with retirement posts, like fucking twit-long in their posts. I turned the Xbox off, put it in the cupboard, and that was me done. I'll see you later. No thanks. Because if loads of people will tell you, and I think I didn't expect it to get any better, but the settings at the start of Halo 4 were absolutely dreadful. They were awful. I remember thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? Just turned it off. Reach was bad enough. Reach was crap, to be honest with you. The only reason we played that is because we enjoy competing. I think if you put Reach in front of me now and expected me to play a game, let's compare it to Halo 3. It was so average. If you gave me a game that was clinically bang average now, I would just turn it off.
Yeah. I mean, I competed at not like LAN stage. First got into that competitive scene around Reach time. I played a lot of 1v1s back in the day. I never went like a big thing, but there's always 1v1 Sanctuary or what was it?
What a map.
Sanctuary.
We're still rubbing our hands together waiting for Sanctuary.
Come on. I wish.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
H2A version is like beautiful. I just want it back in Infinite. I think it'll play really well in Infinite as well.
I think it will play the best out of the maps. I think a lot of people mid-ship, but keep your eye on Sanctuary, mate. Sanctuary is the one.
I am. It's probably my favourite map. Halo 4 came out for me, and I was like, oh, get it day one. I think actually I got it at midnight release as well. Because back in like the Xbox 360 days.
You used to go to Asda.
Yeah, well, mine was the game. It was a game in my local town centre. The big queue, like, and you see all your schoolmates and go, yeah, none of these guys are going to school tomorrow. I mean, you're also the same. and like, you'd get home and you don't have to deal with all the installs that you do nowadays. It's like you load it up and you go, and suddenly like my friend list like lights up, like 50, 60, 80 people online. You're thinking like, who the fuck am I going to play with? Like, and you get into my first game, and I remember like choosing between, and I didn't go straight into MLG, choosing between like a carbine and like a battle rifle to start off with, thinking
was
like,
that a thing?
Yeah, you had the loadouts on Halo 4.
I don't even remember that. That's how quickly I fucking turned it off. It was like really, really, really wasn't.
Yeah, well, I was
really,
pretty much
really
the same as well. I didn't even play Haven. to a point where it came back in Halo 5, and I didn't even know the map.
God.
Like,
Jesus Christ! I just remember thinking this is so bad. And I think I was actually meant to two big names now. I think I was meant to be teaming with Snipe Drone and Septic.
yep.
That was the team I was meant to be teaming with. Now at the time, these guys weren't but imagine we're just going from Reach to Halo 4. These guys aren't exactly big names. I remember someone going, "Oh, that Snipe Drone's good," and I think he was in the game where I turned it off, and he wouldn't call out. I'm sure he's different now, but I remember thinking, if this is what I'm up against, mate, it's not worth my fucking time. Turned it off, done with it.
So that was it. Your Xbox goes in the cupboard, like underneath clothes or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, fast forwarding to did you play in Halo 5? Did you come back for Halo 5 or Halo 2 anniversary at all?
So Halo 5, I think Pete's one of my good friends, Pistol Pete. Like we played the last Reach events together. He never won, but he just never committed any time to the game. Yeah. He rang me and was like, "Fucking, come on, jump on Halo 5, play a few games." It's like, right. So I plugged the Xbox in and start playing a few games. And he goes, "Oh, there's a tournament on Sunday, and me and Blackjack are going to play in it. Jump on and play this tournament." And it was an LCQ. It was a last chance qualifier.
Right.
And we won the LCQ. Oh. Now, I was completely oblivious to what I was playing. I had no idea what I was playing. But when I looked back on the Halo wiki and looked at it, it was like, I fucking won an LCQ in Halo 5. I just remember running around with the SMG and thinking of having the time of my life, a sprint sliding with the SMG. But they took that out.
Yeah.
They take the SMG out. Yeah, I was running around fucking the SMG. I was just living my best life. But after that, I thought,
right? It was AR Starts. It was AR Starts.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
I ain't got a clue, but can't remember. I literally turned it on for the day, qualified for the LCQ, never played the LCQ, and just turned it off again. Same thing. But I actually remember quite enjoying Halo 5. Like I think I played a couple hundred games of that. I actually remember thinking to myself, I quite enjoy that. But at the time, there was no way with my job and everything. There was no way I could have committed any time to playing that game.
Yeah. So I think as well, like during Halo 5, did you coached the team, right? Like for one event. For one event. Team of knowledge.
I don't know how. Because I just didn't know fucking anything about the game, and I think
did they just call you up last minute or something?
It's got to have been. No, the event was around the corner from my house, and I said to someone, "Oh, I'm going," and I remember someone saying, "Oh, do you want to coach us?" And just thinking, yeah, it'd be great, thinking it'd be easy. But I remember getting everything wrong. I wasn't timing fucking anything. I was too busy shouting at the other team. It's hilarious. I had a good time. I had a really good time, but I must have done them more bad than good because I was just screaming.
What did they place? Do you know?
I think they got fourth. Like? I think it was a Worlds. Was it not like a qualifier for Worlds or some shit? But the venue was really, really fucking bad. And I remember thinking, Jesus Christ, how has it got to this? Because the money that was on the line was really big. And I remember thinking, why is the money so much? And we're playing in a room. The room in my head was worse than the Taub Suite, which was at the NEC, which went like XL1 and 2. It would have been better off there. The room was terrible. And you didn't even know you were walking into the place. Yeah. It was just a unit in a industrial estate, basically.
Was it in Leicester?
It was in Leicester, yeah. Do you remember it?
I went to the event. I didn't play. I watched the event.
It was. Am I right thinking it was a really small room?
It was, yeah. So there's a small room, like the main stage is basically like 60% of a room, and then you've got these little set-up chairs on like a makeshift stage. I mean, apart from that, it was all black as well. Everything was black.
It was really bad, wasn't it? Maybe that's why it felt so small for me, because everything was black. There was nothing anywhere. I remember thinking, what the hell has it come to? I'm so glad I quit.
Yeah, I remember it, and it was like you basically, it's like a unit. You open the door and you've no idea.
Yeah.
Little piece of paper.
And there's a little desk, like you go to a dodgy underground club, wasn't it?
Did we walk downstairs for a bit? Or am I making that up?
I think so. Maybe we're just slagging it off for no reason. Yeah, we just walked downstairs and everything. I don't know if it was that bad, but it wasn't good.
Yeah. It was a Halo event. I remember it as well. That was like the last thing you did in Halo 5. And then what? Like now, obviously, but you're 58 years old and come back for Halo Infinite. What
I'm
was the
only
thought process for
26.
that?
Fucking hell.
26,
I'm
yeah.
not only
Jesus, you
joking.
make me
I'm
sound old
30,
now.
I'm 31. I'm 31.
Yeah, no. But what was the thought process coming back to Halo Infinite?
Um, same again. I think someone was like messaging me as because I was carried on speaking to quite a lot of people after Halo.
Mm,
Like you make friends for life when you're in these sort of communities. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I still speak to a lot of people now. Some of them turned out to be
yeah,
my best friend. Like I met Pete through um Halo, but now he's one of my best friends in real life.
yeah, same for me, man. Like
So
I've gone on holiday with some of my mates who I met through
yeah,
Halo
it's
as well.
literally
So
same
yeah,
as me and Pete, yeah. Um yeah, so same thing. This is a newer Xbox, but it was still. So this is going to scare you. So when Infinite come out, I didn't have a Series X, or I didn't have a PC, which
on
everyone's playing on
the
nowadays.
one,
I had the
on the
Xbox
one.
One.
Oh my god,
Um,
how you
and
survived?
listen, I'm talking my knowledge of gaming at this point extends as far as am I in full green or yellow bar? Do you know what I mean? Frames,
You
don't know what you're
ping,
on about.
yeah.
Ping, don't know what you're on about. I operated on a little green, yellow, red bar. Am I in the game or not? And when I'm playing, I'm chipping away at Halo Infinite, and this is a different point in my life. I have a job now where I'm fortunate enough to have quite a lot of free time.
Mm.
So I started playing it and was like, this is actually really fucking fun. And I'm playing and someone goes, "Oh, what you on a PC?" Oh, no, I'm just on the Xbox, and everyone just assumed that I was on the Series X or the Series.
Yeah,
Uh,
they
it
would.
wasn't until I went to it wasn't until I went to someone. Yeah, my Xbox is making a really loud noise, man. It's really not enjoying this game. Do you know what I mean? Try it, and you'd play for 2 hours, right?
Yeah,
And the game would get progressively worse. And I said to him, "What's that all about?" Why are you on the Series S or the Series? I'm on the Xbox. Like fucking hell, mate. You're probably not even getting 30 frames. I'm not. I don't know what
mm.
so it was like just after Christmas. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go and buy the Series X. And it was only when I started looking in and when I actually played on the Series X, I realised what the fuck was I doing trying to play it on that game. So bad. 30
Yeah,
frames or whatever it was awful. But for that to have like I was playing it on the Xbox One and was really enjoying the game.
yeah,
And I know it's not going to be anything. I'm not going to be a world champion or whatever on this game, but Halo's in my blood, and I absolutely live it, and I love it. I love playing it, and I love what how deep you get into it when you're playing. I don't know if everyone does, but when I'm playing, I'm thinking about absolutely everything that's happening. And I turn it off and afterwards. It's just nice to have something that to do something that you enjoy, I guess.
yeah. And it's just like I remember when I was competing as well. You'd be thinking about scenarios in your head, or like you ever like seen in movies where they have those numbers behind those people thinking. Like that's what your
Literally
head's
that,
like.
yeah.
Yeah, like literally. Yeah,
So if you watch like sports documentaries now on Amazon Prime, and it goes like into the back room, and there's like these
mm,
football managers and these managers, and they're drawing fucking board, and they're drawing everything they're talking about. That's going to be me because I'm going to Orlando as a coach. That's going to be me with the tap map. I'm going to be like, fucking, I'm going to get a big tap map printed off. I'm going to have blue dots and red dots, and I'm going to be moving them around. Like that's the level in your head you want it to be at. Like that's the thought process. It's near enough the same.
yeah.
So for
Oh,
something to initiate your brain like that much, just is a lot of fun, really, isn't it?
I saw the tweet as well saying that you going to Orlando.
Yeah,
Have
man.
you? Has it been announced that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Or
So
oh yeah,
I don't know if it's like it's that public because it's not.
yeah,
So the guys I'm going to be coaching, they're a team that were put together just for the LCQ. So they've qualified on the basis that they were just good enough.
yeah, yeah.
So if they move on to stay as a full team or whatever after the event, it was definitely something that I would think about doing full time because
Oh, that's awesome.
it in a weird way, like having that experience and feeling like I can help a team as a fifth man is just as good to me now as thinking how much could I do as a player on a team.
Yeah. Do you get this? Do you get the same like sort of reward or the same sort of like involvement as a coach? Would you say, or is it like a
Nah,
different level?
you're never going. Like you're never going to be able to get, if you're never going to get that same involvement. But is it a coach can be really fucking good and a coach can be really bad, and I guess it helps being a player and having a good coach and having a bad coach. Me then going to coach and being able to think to myself, knowing what to add and when not to add it, and knowing the signs of when someone's having a bad period in the game. Is the team panicking? Are they calling out too much? Okay, lads, I'm going to stop it. Like game 3. Okay, someone go to the toilet because I'm picking up on your energy right now, and you need a quick break. You need to go to the toilet. Stop the momentum of the other team for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Disrupt it. I know all of the signals of when to do these things. I'll know to let the comms and let everyone stop talking for a sec. Say, okay, let's calm on the comms for a sec. Take your time now. You everyone's taking 1 second. Everyone's doing everything 1 second too quick. Relax. Take your time for a second. It's knowing the little ins and outs, and having a coach that's done that for me before. When you're in the hot seat and you're playing, it's not that easy to pick up on these things. When you've got someone that identifies the problems and can say them to you, that becomes a big help. Coaching is not just about saying when the rockets are up or when the snipe's up. There's a whole element to it where now I think coaches are becoming analysts as well. So if I'm coaching and I know who I'm going to be playing against, I'm going to walk away and I'm going to get the VOD of what these teams do when they start, and I'm going to write that down and I'm going to put it in the chat for everyone to see. Okay, guys, when you're starting on this map, just read through this and try and memorize what the other team are going to be doing at certain points. There's so much you can do as the 5th player.
Like you just saying all of that was like I was watching one of those sports documentaries, but about esports. So I was like, like built the picture of it all. Like the passion sounds like proper quality, and obviously like wish you the best. And technically, you do already have a top 4 placement in EU as a coach. So I mean, even if you count, he weren't even trying at that point.
This is a really big event as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember who was on the team. I think it was like Snakey was on the team. It was Snakey. I think it was Vibe. So it would have been Snakey, Septic. Can't remember who else. I can't remember.
I want to say Snakey, Septic, Ajax, Cristola, like.
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I honestly couldn't tell you. It'll be on a Halo wiki somewhere.
EU Halo 4 Finals 2016. I remember it.
Was it Halo 4?
Halo Fall, as in like American Autumn. Not Halo 4. It was Halo 5, definitely. I wouldn't go to a Halo 4 event to watch it.
Jesus Christ. I wouldn't even. I think I was so far from the community at that point.
Yeah. So we're pretty much out of time here, Baxter.
Yeah, sound perfect.
Is there anything that you want to say? Final little remarks. I quite liked that little speech about the coaching. That was like a good.
I think it's something we need to go into, isn't it? A little like sports documentary, like analysing and put us into it. But no, I've had a good time though. It's been good to talk about a lot of these things, and I think it paints a good picture of where we came from and what we used to do, and the lengths we used to go to get to events to get the scene to where it is now. It wasn't something we ever did for money. There was a lot of passion involved, and I like to think that the way we were and what we did helped get the scene to where it is now, especially the European scene. So it'd be nice for people to sort of appreciate what went on back then and the lengths we used to have to go to do things. So it's been nice to talk about it.
And even like nowadays when people go, oh yeah, the game's dead, oh it's so shit, and you go back to those days where you talking about like XL1, Halo 2, being like in a small room or having to play with your mate through the window just to get a game. This is
what I mean, yeah.
And now
people don't realise how blessed they are now, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Baxter, it has been an absolute pleasure, man.
And yourself.
Talking to you. It's been a real joy for me. And obviously for everybody else who's listening to this podcast as well, thank you so much for joining us on Capture Mike podcast episode 2. Stay tuned. We'll be BRs ready. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much. See you later, mate.
Yeah.